Philadelphia Warriors, the season's Cinderella team of big league basketball.
Philadelphia 76ers, the champions of the world.
You are helpless when AI has it going on.
The year was 1946 when the man known as the Mogul, Eddie Gottlieb, created a new pro team at Philadelphia, the Warriors.
When we traveled, Eddie was not only the coach, he acted as a general manager, the traveling secretary, the trainer. And in those days, we got $7.50 for meal money when you're on the road.
Playing in the newly formed Basketball Association of America, the forerunner of the NBA, the Warriors were led by scoring sensation Joe Fulks.
He popularized that jump shot. Nobody saw that the way he shot it.
Jumpin' Joe. He was the great talent at that time. He was the Michael Jordan at that era.
In 1947, Fulks led the Warriors past the Chicago Stags to win the first BAA title, a rewarding experience for the team.
We certainly felt good about it, and I think we felt good about it because we got $2,100 a man. That made us feel good in those days, that's for sure.
Following in Fulks' footsteps in the 1950s was a player who took the jump shot to the next level, Philly native pitching Paul Arizin.
I had the ability to hang in the air. I would go up and they would go up with me, and they would seem to come down, they said, and I would still be up there.
In 1956, Arizin and the Warriors completed one of the NBA's most remarkable turnarounds.
They came in last place in 1954-55 to the NBA championship the next year.
With three-time scoring champion Neil Johnston manning the middle and local Philadelphia phenom Tom Goles starring in his rookie season, the Warriors returned to the top of the NBA, defeating the Fort Wayne Pistons in 5 games in the finals to capture their second league title.
Philadelphia Warriors, the season's Cinderella team of big league basketball.
Owner Eddie Gottlieb had chosen a Philadelphia high school legend in 1955 with a territorial draft pick. And 4 years later, the towering young man finally arrived. His name, Wilton Norman Chamberlain.
Chamberlain was a giant, a great athlete, and he was a giant. He could do anything he wanted to do.
He was such an overpowering physical figure that he could rule the game.
People felt that Wilt was larger than the game because Wilt did things that were never done before he got here, and I don't think they'll ever be done again.
I think they had no way to compare what I was doing. It was so far out of the realm of believability that they had no way to compare.
In 1962, Wilt averaged an astounding 50 points a game, including one unthinkable performance in Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Rebound, Luckenbill. Back to Luckwitz. Into Chambers.
But despite his staggering individual achievements, Wilt's success would ultimately be measured by his battles with Boston's Bill Russell in the game's fiercest rivalry.
You know, it was like two titans of the game meeting, and you'd have headlines, and Russell versus Chamberlain.
They were the league. You know, I mean, people paid to see Russell and Chamberlain because that was the great challenge, the great duel.
You have two giants. You know, there's the bad giant and there's a good giant. I mean, always Wilt was considered Goliath.
Nobody wanted to face me singly. Nobody. Bill Russell or 5 Bill Russells.
I never could stop him, but I could put some speed bumps. That's the best I could come up with.
Wilt was a Paul Bunyan figure, mythic in what he could personally do, but then every year he would get chopped down by Russell.
Chamberlain's first 3 seasons ended in playoff disappointment. And when the franchise was sold in 1962, Wilt and the Warriors headed west to San Francisco, leaving Philadelphia without an NBA team for the first time in 16 years. Back in the 1950s, one of the Warriors' arch rivals had been the Syracuse Nationals, a tough team playing in a tough town.
They took their team very seriously. I mean, you know, teams used to come in there, man, and fans would intimidate them. They hated to come there.
The leader of the Nationals was their perennial all-star, Dolph Schayes, one of the NBA's original Ironmen.
He just had an immense amount of endurance and a sensational touch. One way or another, he always beats you.
It was Syracuse team owner Danny Biasone who conceived the idea of a 24-second shot clock, which saved the NBA and revolutionized the professional game. As it turned out, it also helped the Nats win the 1955 title.
Watch Paul Seymour maneuver all the way.
In the seventh game, we were 16 down at half, and it looked like Fort Wayne really had our number.
Over to Schayes, whose one-hand marksmanship is terrific.
Had not the 24-second clock been there, we never would have won.
Kerr in the pivot. His jump shot is in there.
I thought, wow, this is terrific. My first year in the league, we win a world championship, and I said, this is going to be great.
Syracuse proves unbeatable for Fort Wayne on his home court.
Then a guy named Russell came in the league, and a guy named Chamberlain came in the league, and they happened to be in the same division that Syracuse was in, and we never made it out of the finals.
Following the 1963 season, Biasone sold the franchise to two Philadelphians, and the Nationals would be reborn as the 76ers. After a one-year absence, Philadelphia had a team again, and soon after that, a trade brought Wilt Chamberlain back home too. But when it came to beating Boston, nothing had changed.
Russell he loses the ball off the support. Russell lost the ball off the support, and the ball goes to Philadelphia.
We're under their basket. We're trailing by 1 point. There's 5 seconds to go. Red Auerbach had the cigar going. Now we see him reach over there and grind that cigar out.
I devised a play where Greer takes it out of bounds, throws to Chet Walker.
Greer is putting the ball on a play. He gets it out deep, and Havlicek steals it over the stand goal. Havlicek stole the ball. It's all over. It's all over.
And Havlicek steals the ball. I said, Havlicek, how lucky can you be?
Johnny Havlicek is being mobbed by the fans. Johnny Havlicek stole the ball.
It was like those kind of things that always prevented us from winning. And they said it was like this leprechaun.
But Philadelphia's fortunes would change in the 1967 season with the arrival of the team's new head coach, Alex Hannum.
I really didn't change anything. I just brought back the feeling of the old Syracuse Nationals with Wilt.
You have a team that probably embodied what every professional team would like to have. There would have never been a power forward any more powerful than Luke Jackson, with a touch like a really very, very soft touch. And then Chet Walker, who was considered to be the best one-on-one player in the league, 6'7.5", 6'6'8", who no one could just guard on a one-on-one situation. And Hal Greer, who everyone knew as a premier middle distance shooter. And then we had a little guy named Billy Cunningham coming off the bench, and he was fearless.
Meeting the mighty Celtics once again in the Eastern Conference Finals, the 76ers finally conquer their longtime nemesis in 5 games. They had ended Boston's run of 8 straight championships and their own long run of frustration.
The feeling of finally defeating this great team who had dominated the NBA for so many years was like an ultimate experience.
In the NBA Finals, they would face Rick Barry and Philadelphia's former team, the San Francisco Warriors. The 76ers prevailed in 6 games to win the championship and stake their claim as one of the greatest teams in NBA history.
I first thought about that, as I remember after we won the World Championship, was now I can walk in peace. And so I felt very strongly about now being able to have a summer vacation and not saying, wow, we're not going to beat those Celtics.
But the euphoria wouldn't last. Moving into the Spectrum the following season, the 76ers once again took a 3-1 lead over Boston in the conference finals. But with Billy Cunningham sidelined with a broken wrist, Philadelphia collapsed and suffered another bitter defeat to the Celtics. And by the next season, Wilt had departed Philly once again, this time traded to Los Angeles.
So our era of the Wilt Chamberlain and the Sixers, where we thought we could have a dynasty for a while, had ended. By 1976, Philadelphia's title hopes were revived thanks to Julius Erving, who arrived from the ABA with a dazzling game and a fitting nickname.
It wasn't Julius Erving, it was Dr. J, which meant when he got on the floor, on the court, he operated on guys.
When Julius Erving started making his moves, they were moves that no one else could possibly make. He brought into vogue the idea of spending most of the game up in the air and never touching the ground.
Just one dunk, and wherever you were, people were happy. They got to see the doctor perform.
My game was probably a little bit ahead of its time. It probably was getting a glimpse of the game in the 90s and the 70s.
While the doctor was the star attraction, he was joined by a cast of talented and colorful characters.
They used to call us Dr. J and the Traveling Dunk Show. People used to get mad when they missed our layup line before the game. This is warm-ups before the games. We're doing some crazy things.
So the 76ers were really like this traveling circus of basketball at that time. They had Darryl Dawkins, Dr. Duncanstein.
I had the rub roaster, the bun toaster, and in your face disgrace. I always felt like that I was ahead of my time. I mean, we just had too much fun, man. We did. I think we actually had so much fun until we forgot we had to play some nights.
In the 1977 finals, the Sixers were heavy favorites over the Portland Trail Blazers in a matchup of teams that couldn't have been more different.
The individualism, the showmanship of the 76ers and the quiet, reserved teamwork of the Portland Trail Blazers.
After racing to a 2-0 lead on Portland, the 76ers began to lose momentum, despite the heroic efforts of Julius Erving.
Bill Walton, those guys, I know they were looking at him like, could you believe this?
But Dr. J's aerial attack couldn't overcome the resilience of the Trailblazers, who swept 4 straight games and took the title. And after being eliminated the following season in the conference finals, the cast of the Traveling Dunk Show began to change.
As odd as that team was and as bad as the chemistry was, I think if it had stayed intact, that team would have been successful because it was just so talented.
The 80s got off to a promising start with a return trip to the finals and a highlight for the ages from the doctor.
I didn't think the ball was going to go in. I thought that he was going to be stretched so far that, he was going to get it up there, but, it wasn't even close enough not going in. It was just a beautiful shot, and all you can do is just say, wow.
But in the end, it was Magic Johnson and the Lakers who celebrated as champions, while the Sixers were left to endure the frustration of coming up empty once again. The next year, in the 1981 Eastern Conference Finals, the curse of the Boston Celtics surfaced once more. This time, Philadelphia squandered a 3-1 lead and lost to their arch rivals.
The problem with Philadelphia really at that time was we had so many stars, we didn't know who was going to do what night.
In the 82 Conference Finals, Philly was facing yet another monumental collapse as the Celtics came back to tie the series. And the Ghosts in Boston Garden were once again ready to bury the Sixers. But they would exercise their demons and silence the critics by winning Game 7 in Boston. Yet despite climbing a huge hurdle, they still couldn't reach the top of the mountain, losing once more to the Lakers in the finals.
I felt very helpless. I didn't feel like there was any more physically, mentally, emotionally that I could individually do, and it wasn't enough.
But help was on the way for the 1983 season when the Sixers traded for one of the league's best centers, his name, Moses Malone.
I think we felt some pressure as far as, well, we can't make it happen with this guy, probably not going to happen. He just was relentless.
Moses led the Sixers through the playoffs and into a finals rematch with LA, who had beaten them 2 of the last 3 years. But this time, the story was headed for a different ending. After taking the first 2 games at home, the Sixers headed west with just one thing on their minds.
We want to end it in 4. We want someone to remember this team.
And Philadelphia did end it in 4, completing the sweep in Los Angeles. They had rolled through the postseason, winning 12 of their 13 games to finally capture the NBA title, their first in 16 years.
One thing about this team that they should be remembered for is they had the ability every year to come back and just keep on doing it, and keep on doing it, and darn it, they climbed the mountain.
Philadelphia 76ers, the champions of the world.
The Sixers had brought the championship back to Philadelphia at long last, but the joy of winning would be short-lived. They would not return to the finals for the rest of Julius Erving's career, which ended in 1987 when the man who changed the game announced his retirement.
Basketball is not just sport, but as ballet, as an American art form, begins with Julius Erving.
He revitalized the NBA. His name is synonymous with basketball and class, Dr. J.
Where does he rank and what kind of company? I don't know. Maybe Jesse Owens, Jackie Robinson, Joe DiMaggio, people like that. It's it for Julius Erving.
Comes Charles down the lane. There's Barkley now, going to go in by himself.
Gets the offensive rebound.
Leading the Sixers into a new era was a bold, brash, and tremendously talented young star, Charles Barkley.
I just got unique and different skills. I just was a 6'4" guy who was able to dribble the ball. I had quick leaping ability around the basket. You have very quick feet. But I think the biggest asset of my game was the ability to dribble.
Ellis,
Once it was showtime, once it was the time to start the game, Charles was all business as far as playing the game, but he also had a sense of responsibility to entertain people.
That's what I'm talking about, the ultimate entertainer. That's what he can do best.
He is really a different guy.
Well, we don't have a lot of plays. All the plays we got is get the ball to me somehow.
He used to had that whole attitude, I don't give a damn, I'm challenging everyone in the building. Barkley, you really wanted someone to knock him down, knock him on his ass. And that was the joy of watching Barkley play.
Sixers will set up for the final shot. AC Green and Charles Barkley. Charles with room. Score it, and a foul.
I never expected my career to skyrocket like it did. Went beyond my wildest expectation, the level I achieved.
Sir Charles and his 76ers would capture the Atlantic Division crown in 1990.
When you're winning. Yes, sir.
Yet for all the excitement he brought to Philadelphia, Barkley could never bring his team all the way to the finals during his 8 seasons with the 76ers.
It's his game to win.
In 1992, Charles Barkley was traded to Phoenix and found immediate success, winning the league MVP award while leading the Suns to the NBA Finals. Meanwhile, back in Philly, the Sixers were going through some lean years, but an answer was on the way.
With the first pick in the 1996 NBA Draft, the Philadelphia 76ers select Allen Iverson from Georgetown University.
And it was clear from the beginning that Allen Iverson was no ordinary rookie.
It's time to get down.
Iverson, this is going to be something with Stockton. He slammed for 2. You are helpless when AI has it going on. That's Iverson, yes! The kid has come up big.
I knew that once I got an opportunity that I was going to showcase my God-given ability. I just felt like the sky was the limit.
Iverson has Jordan. The crowd is into it. Allen shakes free, gets 2. The crowd loves it.
It gives me great pleasure on behalf of the Philadelphia 76ers to present our rookie, Allen Iverson, with the Schick NBA Rookie of the Year Award. Yeah!
Despite Allen's individual accolades, the 76ers continue to struggle, winning just 22 games during his rookie season. At the same time, Iverson's controversial image continued to be scrutinized. And as the team headed into the following season, they were in search of a new direction.
I feel great in introducing to you the head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers, Larry Brown. Yeah!
At first, it was an odd couple, the old-school coach and new-age star. But gradually, Brown's influence began to take effect.
It was his basketball genius that really decided to give Allen enough frames so he saw what he could do and what he would do.
Rebound volleyball by Ori, but it's taken off over there by Davis. Wraparound pass behind the back, underneath, great play. What a play by Iverson. That's Allen Iverson at his best.
I could see a change for the better. I could see Allen inch by inch making progress. He once told me he wanted to have a relationship with me that the great athletes have with their coaches.
With Iverson embracing Brown's team-oriented system, the Sixers assembled a cast of hard-working role players to complement their superstar. The chemistry was working, and Philadelphia was now winning.
Hill got it to Stackhouse, and he stole the ball. McKee took it away. Sixers down 2. Iverson for the tie.
In 1999, Allen led Philly to the playoffs for the first time in 8 years, but he was just getting started. 2 years later, Iverson captured the league MVP award and would carry his heroics into the playoffs with one of the greatest postseasons in NBA history.
52 points for Iverson. He is the man. Allen Iverson exploding here in Game 7.
Iverson runs down the floor. He puts his hand to his ear. He jumps with joy. He had an unbelievable 44-point performance here in Game 7. Reputations are made in the NBA playoffs, and Allen Iverson stamps his name in the annals of greatness.
Allen had led the Sixers to their first finals appearance in 18 years. And though they were huge underdogs to the Lakers, Iverson's will was large enough to stand up to any challenge.
It's Allen Iverson and Shaq. Truly a David and Goliath story.
Picked off by Iverson. Down the floor he goes against O'Neal. Allen by the big man. Scoop layup is good. A foot race. The tortoise and the hare.
Here's Iverson. Lou the defender. Stays right with him. Allen wants to go. Wants the baseline.
He fires 2 ball. Got it again. He's way too good. He steps around Lou. Sixers shock the world with a Game 1 victory here over the world champion Los Angeles Lakers.
The irrepressible Allen Iverson. You cannot kill that guy.
The 76ers would eventually lose in 5 games to a Laker team that was on its way to a dynasty. But this tenacious and resilient Sixers team had won the hearts of its fans and returned the franchise to prominence.
This team taught me that, you get a group of guys with character, you can accomplish great things.
Larry Brown stepped down as head coach after the 2003 season. 1 year later, a new coach arrived, Jim O'Brien, who was coming home to his native Philadelphia. And midway through the 2005 season, the Sixers made a bold move when they acquired all-star Chris Webber. He joined forces with the team's mainstay, Allen Iverson, to bring new hope to Philadelphia fans. A hope that the Sixers' future might be just as bright as their glorious past.